I used to get really rattled when people would tell me I'm sensitive. Now I say, you're right, I have sense. Hey guys, welcome back. Today we are talking about being too sensitive. Now, if you clicked on this video because of the title, I'm assuming that you too also have this belief that you're too sensitive. And there is no shortage of people who believe this about themselves. If you Google, am I too? The first thing that comes up is, am I too sensitive? And I'm sure that for a lot of these people, they have heard their entire lives that they need to
toughen up and have thicker skin.
And to be honest, this phrase has never made sense to me. Like, my brain just does not compute what is thicker skin. I think the thing that got to me the most about people telling me to stop being so sensitive is that it was basically telling me to stop being who I am. And I never figured out how to do that. And because people have been telling me this my whole life, I'm not gonna lie, it messed me up a little bit. And I did used to think that there was something wrong with me. But then one day, I grew tired of my own shit, and I Googled how to stop being so sensitive. And somehow that led me to find this book, The Empath Survival Guide by Judith Orloff. And I've mentioned this book on my channel before, and that's because this book made me feel so seen. It just put into words things that I've never been able to explain in words myself. And there were so many sections of the book that made me think like, oh, that's why I am the way I am. Like when Judith talks about how sensitive people feel other people's feelings as if they were their own, I finally understood why I could walk into any room and without even trying on purpose, I could strongly feel the energy of the room and strongly feel just generally how everyone was feeling in that room. Literally, I could read the room. But most importantly, this book made me realize that sensitivity is not a weakness. It basically could be a superpower. So let me explain. Imagine being able to notice things that most people don't and feel things that most people can't. And because of this ability, you're able to alert people to dangers that most people can't see and come up with solutions to problems that most people wouldn't be able to come up with. Imagine being able to basically read minds because you are so in tune with the way other people feel. Isn't that a superpower? And I can get how some of you right now might be like, no, being sensitive and having emotions makes you weak. That's the lamest superpower ever. But I want you to consider this. Sensitive people are willing to feel things that other people aren't willing to feel. And that takes a hell of a lot of strength. And I bet you that that guy that you see in the gym with the big muscles, who also happens to subscribe to toxic masculinity, I bet you if his friends asked him if he would ever consider going to therapy, he'd be like,
no, therapy is for
why? Because while he might be strong enough to bench 250 pounds, he's not strong enough to feel his feelings. You are only as strong as you are tender. And last time I checked, the opposite of sensitive is not strong, it's insensitive. And this isn't exactly something to be particularly proud of, especially in the context of our close relationships. And I really feel for the people that have been told that they're too much or a lot to handle. This is so damaging. Just don't ever say this. And I love this quote by Glennon Doyle that goes, "You will be too much for some people. These are not your people." Literally, it's them, not you. Sensitive people have a lot to give, and maybe it was that that person wasn't ready to receive everything that you have to offer. But because of our sensitivity, our strength, navigating relationships can get overwhelming sometimes. We want closeness, but not too much closeness, otherwise we'll be taking on too much of that person's feelings. We can care too much what other people think of us. There are some days where we might take criticism not as well as other days, and it can just get exhausting. So here are my top 3 tips for my fellow sensitive people out there for navigating personal relationships and preserving our energy in them. Number 1, don't take anything personally. I kind of feel like a broken record now because I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this point in my last like 5 videos, but not taking things personally will literally improve the quality of your life. And I see so many people out there taking things personally when it's nothing personal, and I see them inflicting suffering on themselves, and it low-key breaks my heart. So I don't think that this point can be stressed enough. What Sally says of Susie says more of Sally than of Susie. If someone says that you're too sensitive, that's more of a reflection of that person's ego making them unable to take accountability for their actions, not of you being too sensitive. Number 2, realize that most people don't have malicious intent. While sometimes it can feel like somebody is trying to intentionally hurt us, we have to remember that most of the time people are either too unaware or too focused on other things to realize the effect that their actions might have on our feelings. And this isn't to say that these are bad people, it simply just means that they might not have the same emotional experience as we do. But sometimes, even if the other person explained to us that they didn't mean to hurt us, it still might not take away the fact that it still hurt, which is why it's so important that we communicate how we feel. Sometimes it can feel easier to just not say a word and think like,
that'll show them to never do this again.
but we need to remember that people aren't mind readers, and we need to communicate to them the impact that their actions had on our feelings. And it doesn't need to be in the form of an accusation. So this is an example of something that you wouldn't want to say. How could you treat me like that? How could you deliberately try to hurt me like that? I can't believe you would do such a thing. Instead, we want to frame it as us explaining to them the impact that their actions had on our feelings from our perspective. So you can frame it something along the lines of, hey, I didn't like when you said this or did this because it made me feel this way. And when you frame it this way and that person cares about you, they will understand and they will take accountability for their actions, honor your feelings, and offer you a sincere apology. If they respond with defensiveness or by calling you too sensitive, that is called gaslighting, and I would distance myself from this person as much as possible. Number 4, set boundaries. Because of our sensitivity, we often feel guilty for saying no to people or turning down plans because we don't want to hurt the other person's feelings. And this is a great quality to have. It simply just means that you care about people, but it can start to get detrimental when you start to sacrifice your own well-being. So I want you to give permission to yourself to say no. And you can say no in a way that isn't mean. It's possible to say no with grace and gratitude. You can say something along the lines of, hey, thank you for thinking of me. Thank you for inviting me. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make it. Unfortunately, I'm not available, but I appreciate you asking. And when you frame it this way, most of the time people will understand and they won't be mad. So those are my thoughts on being too sensitive in the context of personal relationships. Now let's expand this idea to a larger context, to a worldly context. For my fellow sensitive people out there, the world, the news, tragic global events can make us feel pretty bogged down. And we can sit and stew on a sad story for much longer than the average person. And some people might not be able to understand why we can't just get over it like everyone else. But I want you to consider, maybe you're not overreacting, maybe you're reacting at an appropriate level and everyone else is underreacting. In a world driven by power and domination, there is no shortage of issues. And it is the sensitive people, the ones with the higher capacity for kindness, compassion, and empathy, who are going to be the ones to affect real change. Why? Because we're the ones that are paying attention. And if you think about it, it was the sensitive people who were the healers and the medicine men and women in their communities, because they had this unique ability to make people feel better and to improve the quality of their lives. Society literally would have fallen apart without them. And today, these same people can be found in our doctors, nurses, social workers, therapists, personal support workers, occupational therapists, naturopaths, and the list goes on. But what exactly is this unique quality that all of these people have in common? Well, it's this very rare thing called empathy. Empathy heals, and unfortunately, our world is more driven by power than by empathy. Which is why, if these people that our society has been so quick to label as too sensitive were to harness this superpower, we could heal and change the world. And to do this, we need to stop denying our feelings and instead honor our feelings and realize that our sensitivity is what makes us strong and powerful and capable of changing the world. And I know it is a lot easier said than done. It does take a lot of patience to rewrite those narratives we have about our sensitivity being a weakness, but it is so worth it and so needed for yourself and for the world. So those are my thoughts on being too sensitive. And for those of you out there who have also been repeatedly told that you're too sensitive, I see you. I hear you, I feel you literally, and I want you to remember that no matter what anyone tells you, your feelings are not a problem. You're not broken, you don't have to grow thicker skin. That would be suppressing and denying one of the greatest qualities that you have. And consider this video your call to action to let go of that narrative that there's something wrong with you, and instead to harness your sensitivity, this gift that you were so lucky to be blessed with, to do what you were always meant to do and ignite the change that this world desperately needs. Please share this video with anyone you think might find it helpful, and I will see you next Sunday. Until then, stay healthy, stay safe, and stay sensitive. Bye.